Jesus said, "Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice." Amen. I always have a soft spot in my heart for the Pharisees, as much bad press as they get. Religious leaders often get things wrong, right? So in this story, we hear Jesus being and sitting with everyone who was there. Those who were on the outside, those who were on the inside, those who were his equal, and those who were below him. And Jesus plain and simply went in and sat. He did nothing more. He sat down and had a meal and just sat there with the people of God. And there were those who just loved it, and there were those who couldn't stand it. Everything seemed to have been turned upside down. And it didn't make sense. And so to everyone, he said, "Go, learn this. I desire mercy, not sacrifice." So one of the challenges that Jesus posed to absolutely everything is the same in the world today. We call it culture war. And it is seen and it is heard in very painful ways by everyone in the world in which we live. Jesus went into the same world, and he said to them, "I desire," what does God desire? God desires from you mercy, not sacrifice. For those Pharisees, those religious professionals, right, who made their living by preaching and teaching, didn't always understand God. And those who sat there and listened, because the Pharisees had disciples, just like Jesus had disciples. That's what it meant. The rabbis had disciples. And so this was a chaotic dinner, that I promise you, very chaotic. And they all were going, "What does this mean?" Because they knew who God was. They knew what it meant. You go to the temple. You offer up thanksgiving through sacramental worship, through sacrificing of animals, right? That we heard in the Psalm, that we heard in Hosea. And Jesus said, "Okay, everyone, there's more to it than that." He said, "Those of you who think that there's only mercy, you're a little bit off. Those of you who say, no, there's only sacrifice." He said, "Hold on a second here. There's a lot more to that as well." And then he said, learn what that means. In the midst of this war that we know so painfully today, Jesus comes in and says, "You're all wrong. You're all wrong. Because God isn't one way or the other. He said, you cannot box God the way you want to box God. Us religious professionals, us followers of God, the arrow goes through the heart of everyone. So he teaches them. This is what rabbis do, right? He teaches them. He walks into their life and he just says, okay, learn what this means. And he doesn't sit down. He stands up. A leader of the synagogue, another lawyer, another priest, another teacher, goes to Jesus. This guy knew Jesus had something to do with something. And he says, my daughter's dead. The most precious, beautiful child in my life has no breath. And Jesus stands up and he starts to walk. He starts to go into the situation no matter what it meant. There was no separation. He just went. And on that way, he was touched. He was touched by someone who was not to touch him. He was touched and he responded with mercy and grace, knowing that, yes, sacrifice was a part of his life. He was a faithful Jew. He went to temple. He went to synagogue. He offered that which was a part of the law. And he offered a mercy to the woman with hemorrhages and said, you are loved and you are healed. And then he ended up at the home of the leader of the synagogue, the priest, the lawyer, the deacon, the followers of Jesus, the followers of God. And guess what they did? Did you notice what they did? They laughed at him. They said, you're nuts. She is not sleeping. The faithful laughed at God as he busted through everything. You can see what I mean. He breaks open every shell, every closed space in the world. And he walks in with his disciples and he touches. He touches in a way that he wasn't supposed to touch. He touches in a way that gives life more than just physical, as painful as it is today that we religious professionals cannot bring back to life. And he touches, and that arrow goes through every heart. And those disciples still didn't get it, but they didn't leave Jesus. Go and learn what this means. God desires mercy, not sacrifice. Stand before God. Live the faith. Embrace an amazing love. Amen.